and welcome to the Busted Knees and Pretty Trees podcast. This rocket ship has just completed a full orbit, arriving here at episode 52. It's been 1 year since this busted cruise sprouted from the soil of a shared love for exploring the great outdoors and learning about its endless marvels. Yet we stand here, a humble sapling with but a single growth ring. Patient and tenacious, we continue to stretch our thin branches to greater heights and in new directions, finding what light rays we can in an all too often cold and dreary conditions. As our namesake vaguely implies, Patrick, Brad, and I find our light and breath of hope in the comfort provided by a saunter in the woodlands.
Yes, we do. Busted
knees can be soothed and purified by the beauty we find in the shade of pretty trees. This episode, our wiry branches have captured one of those light rays from a place often besieged by those who toil in the theft of hope and growth. Today, we really get to explore this metaphor embedded in the name of our creation. We have brought a guest. He is speaking from a different kind of frontier, and he's planting trees in hopes of letting the tired land stretch its branches back into the sky where it had rained once before, and bearing fruit for those needing respite from the abandoned asphalt and ashes of Detroit, Michigan. I am Travis J. White. Thank you all for coming along. It's going to be a good one today, so let's get going. Of course, with me, the usual tree huggers, Patty and Bradley.
Hello. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you very much for that. And I am extremely excited for this episode.
Yes, sir.
Close to my heart.
We are quite delighted. And introducing our guest for today, he comes to us from Detroit, Michigan. He's a former Detroit high school English teacher turned co-founder of Arboretum Detroit, a nonprofit that aims to educate and resuscitate Detroit communities through the beauty and energy provided by trees. Andrew Birch Kemp, everybody.
Hello.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for coming.
That was nice. Thanks, man. That was a real nice intro.
Yeah, the reason that we asked you to be on our show like a long time ago when we first started doing this, we had a little news story about somebody planting sequoia trees in Detroit, Michigan. And we're like, oh, let's learn about that. And then once we started to think about getting guests, we shot one out to you, and we're stoked that you're on here. Also, Patrick went up to Detroit, and he said he touched one of your trees.
Yep. I was walking by it, and I am just...
I did scold him that you shouldn't be touching him.
Yes, he did. I did not touch it long, and it was barely a finger. But Birch, dude, we are psyched to have you on.
Wait, why did Brad say you shouldn't touch the tree?
Well, because it just kind of seems like, you don't want to, we're all very much cautious of taking it too far. And when I was up there, I was just very hesitant to, just kind of put your hands in your pocket, kid, and don't touch.
Oh, no, that's not the way.
But I did, and it was amazing.
Yeah, you did the right thing. I don't agree with Brad on that one. As tree huggers, we should be kissing the trees, climbing the trees, hugging the trees.
Yes, all right.
All of that.
Thank God you said that, because I felt a little guilt for a few months now.
Come on. No way, the trees love it. The trees love it.
Oh, yes.
Well,
dude. Yeah, go ahead, Travis.
I have two questions for you. So is your middle name Birch, or is that a nickname that has been given to you?
That's a nickname that I started using when I would turn 50 about 6 years ago. And I like it. It seems to fit. And my kids, I get started with my kids. And I was like, yeah, I got one child who changed his name. And I was like, and all the kids are doing it. And I was like, well, it's, maybe halfway through my life or whatever. 50 seemed like a good point. I was like, why do I have like a biblical name? It makes no sense to me. Yeah. It's no point. And it was not offensive to my parents because they didn't really have any reason for naming me that anyway. So they weren't hurt. Yeah. So,
well, it sure fits because when I first emailed you or got an email back, and your name was Birch, that was the first thing I was like, dude, we just got a yes from the Arboretum Detroit, and his name is Birch. This is gonna be good.
cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Well, my second question we always ask a first-time guest is, after you strip away, everything else outside of just nature itself in its purity, what is it that takes you out there?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I was going to answer the purity and the nature, whatever you said I had to strip away. I mean, it is touching the ground and touching the trees and being connected, and that's what keeps me sane. I just don't understand how some people are here for the television shows and the shopping experience and the extravagant food preparations. I need to just be outside.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I think it's actually probably a big part of the problem, right? And part of the disconnection is why we accept the malls and and the television and the video games and the AI as reality, because we're disconnected,
Yep.
So for me, it's just essential. It's just part of who I am. And I have so much empathy for people who are like locked up inside, some people it's by choice and some people it's not. So it's just the essential part of good living.
Yeah. I think kind of that's
more.
the three of us is, as we've grown older, we've realized like how decompressing out there in the woods can make, it just make you feel so much better, getting disconnected from civilization for a little bit.
I think there's science that backs that up as well. That just we talked with a lady the other week that she gave us that stat that just staring at nature from afar can change your mood, change your, I dare say, genetic makeup. You know what I mean?
It's kind of our natural state,
Yeah.
It is. There is a lot of science. I mean, just that soft fascination alone, just like you said, looking at a tree. So what we've been doing for a million years,
Yeah.
of course that's what we want to do. We're not used to all this pixelated crap, digital crap. It's like, it's really so mind boggling when you think about how long we've been at looking at trees and being in nature, and how long we've been at this.
Really just
it's
such a small amount of time when you really zoom out.
Yeah. No wonder we're all going crazy.
For real.
I can feel
I
it.
think if people spent a little bit more time chilling out in the nature, they would, we'd start to just chill out a little bit.
Yeah. That's what we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the News Panther, Birch. We told you a little bit about it before we started recording, but Walter's in the house. That means we have a little segment where Brad, Walter, whoever it is, reads us a little news story from outdoors. Go ahead, B-Rad.
All right. Today, another feel-good story. The Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area has received the National 2025 Excellence in Volunteerism Innovation Award for volunteer efforts to monitor wildlife recovery in the aftermath of the 2018 Woolsey fire.
First of all, congratulations
awesome.
for saying all that. Yeah.
Man, that's great.
That baby was going.
The Woolsey fire happened in November 2018. It burned around 97,000 acres.
Ooh.
Started in LA County, spread north, and it destroyed 1,643 structures, killed 3 people, and prompted the evacuation of more than 295,000 people.
Lord.
So you might remember this because on the exact same day, 2 other wildfires were started in California. One was the Hill Fire and one was the Kemp Fire. And the Kemp Fire was like twice as big. And I think 86 people died from the Kemp Fire.
The campfire, like this was
in California.
Accidental from a campfire?
No, the Kemp Fire was a faulty power line hook, corroded over time and gave way. And there was like a really bad windstorm. It was the windstorm that started all these fires was, like the initial faulty stuff that humans did failed in high winds. I didn't want to put the blame on the high winds there.
Don't call it
Yikes,
a
that is a
campfire.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
I think it might be. Oh man, it's like the county or something. I don't think it's like a camping fire.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
confusing.
the project was called the Woolsey Fire Recovery Camera Project. And the big deal about it was an ambitious study to evaluate how populations of wildlife responded after unprecedented events to the ecosystem. So this isn't really I think they're hoping to extrapolate this across other events like floods, hurricanes, tornadoes.
Oh, yeah.
It was a collaborative volunteer program that started in 2019. It was originally led by park educators because this is part of the National Park Service. It's a national recreation area. So it was led by park educators and a group of scientists from local universities. And the overall goal was to monitor and understand how wildlife recovers after large ecosystem impacts, like I said. The numbers of what this study is what blew my mind. So to perform it, they recruited and trained over 24 volunteers, and these volunteers selected what sites they were going to do the study at. They installed all the cameras, and it was 60 cameras in total. So they installed posts to put the cameras on, deployed and retrieved the cameras and maintained them. And then throughout the last, since 2019, there's been more than 4,300 volunteers that have provided 12,500 hours of service with an estimated value of $434,000.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
What's wild is this kind of goes against what we were just talking about, but all these volunteers were sifting through all the images from all the cameras. So they were sitting at a computer, and it was over 1 million images that they had to go through to see, some probably didn't have animals. I don't know if they didn't say if they were the motion detection trail cameras, but they would sort through the images and then identify species through a platform called, I've never heard of this. It's called Zooniverse. It's it must almost be kind of like an iNaturalist thing. I'm not sure.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
No.
They could have picked
Zooniverse?
a better name.
Yeah, right.
No. Kind of rolls off my tongue.
It sounds good, but you were thinking about captive animals here versus
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So tell us more about that. What 1 million images?
And that's what my first thought was, I bet they saw a lot of stuff, rare stuff too, which they did. That was what surprised them the most. They caught a lot of the normal species like squirrel, deer, bobcat, mountain lions. But then they also identified spotted skunks, black bears, American badgers, and ringtails.
Yes.
So so they got a lot of info on them that has not been really recorded, at least in that area, because they're not common to that area.
What's the first? I imagine that they're tracking the plants that sprout up as well, and the recovery of any that survived, or
it did say mainly wildlife and mainly mammals, but I think overall, as they're seeing,
as well, or hand them off to the plant folks.
they have the images. Well, I think as the time's going on, this project's just expanding more and more and more, because in the 2025 Palisades fire, they already had monitoring data going into it, and then they had the data during it and the data post from what they've been able to gather so far. But it's just the big takeaway is now, through the Park Service, local biologists for conservation groups know if there's anything they haven't really drawn conclusions yet onto what they can do, but now the data is available for them to start putting in plans on what do we need to do to bring these animals back or to help protect them through the wildfires. Anything different we can do?
So this is not mostly, but this is secondarily in preparation for the inevitable next wildfire.
Or if one's going, we just had the one in the Grand Canyon that just kept spreading and spreading. So there might be something, I don't know what they could possibly do, but to help mitigate the loss of wildlife. And then after the fire, what kind of habits did they see animals taking to return? Or at what point were they ready to start returning to the area?
No kidding. Well, that's quite interesting, and also extremely great information to have I mean, because those wildfires, they seem to kind of be picking up a little bit. I hesitate. I don't know, but it seems that way. So if you're continuing to have worse and worse or more acreage or mileage destroyed by wildfires, you can imagine all the species of everything that are being decimated. And be able to go ahead.
But part of it, like Tyler from the Nature Conservancy, like they do prescribe wildfires.
Well,
like,
yeah,
not wildfires if they're prescribed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But there are like necessary natural wildfires because you, at some point, you have to, clear out some of the big stuff so that some of the little stuff can grow again.
Understandably, and also just to but what's going on now is that these man-made fires and the way the climate is going, you have these fires lasting for miles and miles and miles and just crushing it.
Yeah.
They're definitely getting out of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So to be able to understand how to get the fires back and the species, no, not the fires, but the species back in order is just, that's amazing knowledge to have.
Yeah. Cause I mean, they didn't even know how long it takes populations to start returning after a fire. And now they have 6 years worth of data.
How do you know how fast, let's say, where was this at? Santa Monica?
The brown-tailed.
Yeah.
It was northern LA County. No, I mean,
do you have any idea how fast they started seeing species show up again?
No, I didn't get into, which I regret not doing now because it seems obvious. But this story was from the National Park Service website, and all it was about the award. So they just gave a quick synopsis of what the group did.
So what's the award? I know you said it before, but is it like a medal?
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that either.
We're asking tough ones today, B-Rad.
Is it a trophy?
There's definitely a plaque involved for sure.
Nice, good.
I figured it was money to continue the work. I just assumed.
That's kind of what I was thinking was more grants and now people who do big donors know that this is a good agency because they got this award.
Right. Nice. Yeah. Well, that is good news. The news stories when you're positive and share positive information with us are so much better when it's negative or snake hunts or things like that. He did start
negatively. Right off the bat,
snake hunts,
wildfires.
That's not a negative one. That's trying to reduce invasive species.
Yeah.
You flipped it.
Down. Yeah. I like this story. Thank you very much, B-Rad. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Dude, good timing for the end as well. Thank you very much, Brad or Walter. We appreciate the amazing stories that you always shed light on.
All right. I think it's time we talk to Birch about trees.
Let's talk to Birch, dude.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. So, Birch, I guess one of the first things we should probably get into for our listeners and probably for ourselves as well is what give us an overview of what Arboretum Detroit is, what it's all about. Kind of explain to our listeners what we're talking about when we say Arboretum.
Okay. I wish I understood it. Every day it reveals itself to me too. It's
okay.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of joking, obviously, but it's really become a much bigger thing than we thought it was going to be. Right. So it started out just about planting more trees, right? We got all this vacant land in Detroit. Why not trees? There's all this just kind of orchard grass that the city cuts once a month or whatever. I guess to rewind a little bit, if you don't know anything about Detroit is full of vacant land, right? We once had 2 million people and now we're struggling at 700,000 or something.
Wow, really?
So yeah, in the late 60s, there was a major white flight and through the 70s and people just left their homes and I don't know numbers, but in our neighborhood, there's about 20% of the houses left. So that leaves a lot of land, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what we're looking at. Not every neighborhood's like that, but Detroit is 144 square miles and 40 square miles of that is vacant land. not parks, not, dedicated to anything, just vacant. There was once a house here, right?
Like zoned for residential.
Yeah. So living in that is cool. It's a lot of space to do things. There's a lot of gardens and farms and stuff. It's cool. But I'm like a tree person, right? So I'm thinking we need more shade, we need more oxygen, particularly in this neighborhood too. There's another component of pollution. It's an urban environment. It's the heat island effect. It's waste industry, which we'll probably get into a little bit. So I've always planted trees all over the place, just DIY. Whenever I want to go out and plant some street trees, plant them in vacant lots, but that's never a guarantee that that tree is going to be safe because of development or because of the mowers. They're really happy to mow everything, including trees, if the trees aren't, properly staked and they're not safe. So we decided in 2019 to build this nonprofit so that we could easily purchase land and hold it so that the trees would be safe in perpetuity, right? So the idea is an arboretum, a tree park, basically, right? A place to let trees grow and to demonstrate the diversity of trees, to help people connect with trees. So we started out with just a little park across the street, 4 lots. Let's, put 20 trees in there and put a bench in there. And that was cool. But then we were like, let's build a tree nursery so that in the future we can, put all these trees into more parks. So then we did another park and then another park. And now we're at 45 lots.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know what that would be, something like 4 acres or something. It's not a lot if you live in the country, but to us, that's, 4 acres of not just green space, but treed space, where before it was just baking sun, basically, right? And no access. People wouldn't go in those spaces. Now they're inviting parks with pathways and benches and actually programming and stuff. So this is what I mean when I say I don't know what it is, because I didn't even think about the benches. At first I was like, trees, more trees, more trees. That's just how I've always been. Even as a school teacher, I was always planting trees with the kids. But then it was like someone donated a bench and it was such an aha moment, like, oh, that's how we get people to connect with the trees. It's not, the trees are doing the job. They're doing all this stuff for us. And it doesn't matter whether we're there or not, but it's a huge loss if we're not there to connect with them. So then it became about how do we not just bring trees to the people, but people to the trees, right? So that's the next frontier of what we're doing.
And just being in a neighborhood or living somewhere where there are tall trees. I grew up out in the country and we always had just massive trees in the yard that had been there for, 100 years. And it's totally, when I, see some of these new houses going up and they have nothing, it's just sitting on a flat, piece of grass. And I'm just like, there's no way I could live like that.
Right. Yeah. People like that. People are conditioned to think that's a good aesthetic and to be fine with just cranking up the AC, even though their house is baking in the sun. It's, I live in kind of a bubble here, even in Detroit, because this is not like the suburban wasteland that surrounds us, which there's a lot of that in. Mm-hmm. I ride my bike all over the city and some neighborhoods just don't have trees. And it seems like they're clearly deliberately treeless, and that's a whole nother topic, but right. Not everybody's loving trees.
So I guess one of the things I'm curious about is, I was reading up on you, studying up on you, and you were an English teacher in high school for quite some time and kind of dabbled in some other things, but your passion and your dream was always to plant trees, to create an arboretum. And now you're the board president and also co-director of the Arboretum Detroit. So when you started getting into the process of planting trees for the Arboretum, how did you kind of decide? Because then later on, I presume that's when you started getting into the sequoias, which is fucking amazing. But how was that process of, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the kind of trees we're going to bring? Was it native? Did you start in that kind of avenue?
Sure. Well, I just kind of used to just plant whatever trees I could get, right? It wasn't like I had a budget, and it was like if people donated trees that were left over from a tree giveaway, I was even digging up trees and, other neighborhoods and bringing them. And not always the number one trees. I'd buy trees at the big box stores at the end of the year that have these sales, right? And it was like,
yes, sir.
Okay, but I've learned that I try to have a hierarchy of trees, but obviously, like, there's some trees that are super invasive and non-native. So I do regret a couple of Bradford pears I planted in the 90s. They were like $5, but it was a deal at the time. But I didn't look ahead 30 years. I was like, whoa. And they're still they're okay. They're doing something. But my point is just that, like, starting the Arboretum allowed us to be a lot more conscious about the trees that we're planting, right, and deliberate about those decisions. So we have a budget. Here's a $4,000, $5,000 grant for trees. We can pick and choose. So we did plant a lot of native trees, and we do plant a lot of native trees. That's our focus. But there's a lot of other aspects too, like assisted migration, things to talk about that are bigger than just the discussion of, or adjacent to the discussion of, native plants, because it is a big topic. And when you're planting sequoias in Detroit, native plant enthusiasts come out of the woodwork to kind of criticize that. Like, how could you? Like, how many people have come out and said, how could you? And I'm like, well, first of all, do you live in Detroit? Do you know what the situation is? And then also, like, why not? Like, I believe in native plants, and I've planted hundreds of oak trees, hundreds of maples. I've got hackberries, we've got tupelos, we've got hornbeams, sycamores. It just, kind of everything. We've got everything so far.
You can keep going.
Yeah, that's fun.
I mean,
I wrote those down.
Well, we got we got the paper birch, we got the yellow birch, we got the river birch, we got the balsam fir, we got the white spruce, we got the all the junipers, and then, well, I'm looking out the window, so I'm like, we got dawn redwoods. Non-native tree that I love is a dawn redwood, so we got dawn redwoods everywhere, right? Okay. Cousin of the sequoia. Yeah. And we got the giant sequoias. So I guess to answer the question, it just became like a dream come true. Like, what? Really? I get to just order trees, like, and they're going to be delivered off a truck? Like, yes. That's my job. Like, I just pick what trees I want in these parks. I'm not a trained landscape architect. I'm not, I don't have any credentials except that I've been planting trees my whole life. Yeah. Which is pretty good, because you got a lot of landscape architects who have never planted a tree. So, right. And they're making decisions. And so it's like, I like to go back and forth with them. Actually, there's a good tension there. So, yeah, I mean, I just kind of like feel into the spaces and which trees are going to this park. What's the theme? What's, how's it going to look? And just have a blast with it,
Yeah. Hell yeah. I know that's, it's something that you're exceptionally passionate about, and you turn that passion into what you do now. I really quick, I just want to take it back to my first question of what an arboretum is. So what I'm gathering from what we're talking about right now is that, and please, by all means, correct me, this could be drive-by science, but is an arboretum more of an idea than it is a physical place to? Now, I know you have lots of different lots and land that you plant trees on and do your thing on, but I guess when I first started looking into this, I thought an arboretum, I know it's a living museum. I thought it would be like a place, this is my arboretum, check it out, come on in the front door and pay your tab on the way in. But it seems like more of an idea of, I want to plant trees. I'm going to create this not-for-profit, call it an arboretum. And then that'll give me the leeway to take in money, to order trees, to kind of live out your dream. Is that correct to assume then?
Well, the term arboretum, it's kind of a fancy term, and it's kind of like difficult for a lot of people. Some people say, we've heard so many mispronunciations. We have a whole, running joke in the arboretum, the arboretum, the arboretorium.
No, I did it. I've been practicing that word all week, and I still messed it up.
Yeah. I mean, people aren't used to that word, which is interesting, that we chose that word because it wanted to be formal, right? for people who do know trees and love trees and know arboretums, but there's also this connection with U of M Ann Arbor has an arboretum. It is like this city would be nothing without the arboretum. It's right in the middle of the city.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful 120-year-old arboretum. So when people say the arb around here, they usually are thinking of that. And I've always kind of been like, well, don't we deserve something like that too? You know, like,
yes.
And we do. And at first we called it, our first nonprofit papers went under as Detroit. That was the first name. And then we were like, well, people aren't going to know what that is. And if we do call it an arboretum, it is a little more formal and we have a connection to other places.
That one stuck in my head though, because when we were looking through the emails and stuff and Patrick would talk about it and Detroit got stuck in my head and I've been calling it Detroit, our Detroit episode, you know,
that's
coming up.
Fine. Yeah.
I really, that's a good word.
I've been doing that for 30 years, Detroit. I used to make a graffiti out of that, a stencil, and the trees, the T's are all trees, so it looks it's
nice.
Detroit's really set up for that.
Can we get you got a picture of that you can send us?
I might. Yeah,
I'd like to see some of your graffiti.
I should do it back because it literally was just like a street tag I was doing for a while. But then when it came time to do this, I was like, oh, well, maybe we bring that back, Detroit. So there's 2 parks that are called Detroit. There's 1 and 2. So we do retain that name, and our email address is Detroit@gmail. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to turn people off with the arboretum thing. Like does it sound too bougie or whatever, you know, like, so.
I feel like I learned something.
Well, I don't think it sounds bougie. I think it's a good transition. It kind of gets you wondering, and if that's what kind of lines you with other arboretums in the state, in the country, in the world, then I suppose that's probably a better strategy to go that route. Because anybody in the country would know, oh, arboretum, yeah. If you're into trees, this is where to go.
As long as we don't set their expectations too high, because a lot of arboretums have some 100-year-old trees and. We have a few old trees, but the Inna's pretty young arboretum, right? This is a different. This is an urban arboretum. It's not, you know, somebody's.
Yeah, you're doing
100-acre estate
here.
Yeah, it's fragmented and it's urban. There's a lot of different aspects to it, but I think that's also worthwhile, right? Like, what does that look like in an urban environment?
Yeah.
So, what can we do? What can we do differently? The fact that we have so many volunteers and we have people who don't. You know, maybe live in apartment buildings, or maybe they don't want to plant a tree in their yard, but they have the passion to plant a tree.
Yeah. And
they can come and do that with us. I don't know how other arboretums run, but we're like very grassroots, volunteer driven.
Yeah.
What is your role now? Sorry, Brad, go ahead.
There's a famous old saying that a society grows when old men plant trees in whose shade they'll never sit. So
that's your thing, Brad? That's a good quote.
I remember
it's like a legacy.
I heard that from a wise old man once.
You know, a living legacy that you leave behind.
What's your role of as board director, or as board president and co-director or co-founder? Co-director.
I'm a founder with my wife and partner, and I like to call us co-directors. I used to be board president. I said, no, let's be co-directors. I don't like that president shit, you know?
Yeah.
Not really anymore.
Yeah, the name got
CEO.
Yeah,
it's so funny how far that's gone. There's like these companies with 5 people, and they have CEOs and CFOs, and
you got to have a chief of everything.
Yeah,
right.
So what does your role? Because I imagine 30 years ago you were really roughing it, and it was real boots on the ground kind of kind of a thing. It's kind of how I like to describe the people that are really putting in the sweat equity. I imagine, I guess you've been co-director since the beginning, so it might not have changed all that much.
No, it's just a name. I mean, I'm just the guy who's out there with the boots and the shovel, and I'm like, let's dig in, man. Like, I'll lead work days and do most of the, project management on the ground stuff, and my wife does a lot of the, administrative stuff. Like, I write the grants, and she follows up with all the, necessary stuff and follow-up stuff, so.
What a sweet tag team. Cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
We understand that. We're all co-hosts here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
I think none of us want to take ultimate responsibility for the.
If it fails, it's all of our faults.
Well, none of us should take ultimate responsibility for anything. I think that there's always a way to recognize who helped you get here, or who's behind you, or who's doing the thing with you. And in fact, sometimes to the point of like thinking that the word I is absurd.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to get that deep right here, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I very much
that?
do.
Like, I am nothing without you. I am
this is a
nothing without you.
we. I agree. Very much agree. Well, throughout all the conversations we've had in the last 52 episodes, one of the things that keeps coming up is the amount of volunteerism that the conservative people we've had online and had the
conservation, not conservative.
Oh shit, dude! I do that all the time.
I'm in the wrong podcast.
We're a conservative podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
I had to correct that.
That is not true, Birch. But yeah, the conservation podcast or episodes that we've done and the people that we've had a chance to talk to, they really put a lot of emphasis into the volunteerism. And I heard you mention the amount of volunteerism you have. Does that surprise you? Is it motivating for you to know that there's so many people in the community that are yearning for the same thing that you're yearning for?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll plant trees alone, but it's so much more fun together. I mean, sometimes actually I plant trees so much with other people that sometimes I need to just stay after and plant one by myself, because it's a real intimate experience that I forget, right? Because the work days can be kind of whirlwind and a lot of people out there. But to answer that question, yeah, I think it's so good for all of us to see that and to go, like, especially after the election this year, people were like, let me get out here with my people and plant some trees. I need to do something positive. I need to do something that's way beyond 4 years, and I want to do it with you. And we're out here together, just all experiencing ecological grief, all experiencing the grief of our country, all this stuff. And we can be together doing something that is just purely a positive act. It's awesome. Really a moment. Yeah.
That is, it's amazing, especially in the city of Detroit. We talked about it off air, but I am not a lifelong Detroiter like you, but I've been going up there for close to 40 years now, multiple times a year. Most of my family lives in the surrounding areas, Wayne, Livonia, Dearborn, those areas. And when I've learned about you in Arboretum Detroit and Tretroit, it just blew my mind, to be honest with you. Even still to this day, living in Fort Wayne, when I go up there and I make a comment, yeah, I'm going up to Detroit, we're going to do this and do that, it's very much well, be careful, like in Detroit. And the idea that you're taking these vacant properties and turning them into something beautiful and beneficial for Detroiters is really inspiring and kind of motivating in a way, in a great way.
Yeah, it's a huge honor to be able to love the city in this way and give back to the city this way. First tree I planted, I felt that when I had my first house on Southwest and I planted trees on the street, and I was just like, instantly felt like I put a tree in the ground in Detroit. That's going to be here for a long time. A lot of cars are going to park in the shade of this tree. A lot of people are going to come down the street and they're going to feel at home and safe. And they're maybe not going to even know why, but these trees are going to be here for them. And those trees are still there in that neighborhood. That's where I started planting trees. And it's an honor to be able to do that and to be able to one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? There's all this vacant lots that are full of garbage. And that's one of the first things we do is get all the volunteers out and pull out dumpsters full of garbage so that we can plant the trees.
Yeah, go on. An empty place just collects garbage. Nobody's watching after it. People just dump.
I never even thought of that, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is that a good part of your beginning processes, is just cleaning the space up then?
For sure. It's remediation at every level. It's like,
you find homes still on the property? Dilapidated or?
No, they won't sell us. I mean, if there's a vacant home, we have to wait for them to be demolished and then, backfilled and everything.
The city demolishes them then?
Yeah, but it's a good question because I've, a lot of these lots I've had eyes on since these burnt houses that were sitting there for years and years, and we're waiting and we're like, that'd be a perfect one, but we have to wait. So yeah, they do fill up with garbage. There's a lot of illegal dumping, particularly in this neighborhood because it has been so abandoned and abused. But that's part of the joy, actually, is if you're somebody who picks up garbage, you know that there's this feeling of nobody's going to have to ever look at that shit again. And I don't need to be celebrated for it at all. No one's going to know what I did. It's this really like intimate act between you and nature. And I just clean that up. And now the next person doesn't have to see it, especially when you're out on a hike, you know, and you're out in the woods and you're like, who would just do that, you know?
Oh,
That
yes.
pisses me off.
Yeah,
Lord have
right?
mercy.
Just talking about it.
Yeah.
Next week we have an episode where we talk about how to not make people hate you on trail, and that comes up more times than any one of the other topics. Is just leave no trace principle.
Right? Oh my God. We always bring a bag and we're always picking up stuff. And, you know, this time it was like, you thought to pick up your dog shit and put it in a bag and then you left the bag right there? Like what? Like I was so baffled. And that's like the worst stuff to pick up. I'm like, I don't know how clean your operation was, but now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to take this in my backpack.
Yeah.
Because I do photography, and so I always take pictures of trash before I pick it up, because I always think I'm going to start like an Instagram or some account where it's just like trash photos. Trash
Who's the asshole?
But this is
it
still
needs
trash.
to be talked about. Yeah, it needs to be talked about. I'm doing a thing here called Happy Garbage Night, because it's clearly in our DNA in America. Garbage is who we are, and I'm not celebrating that, but I'm celebrating the picking up of the garbage. So on garbage night, go out and pick up some garbage and feel good about it and make it a happy garbage night instead of like looking at that shit again and stepping over it, you know?
Man,
that's one of the best ways. I never thought about like that, because I do always feel good about myself when I bring trash out, but I never thought about it's because somebody else isn't going to have to see that and get upset that they saw trash.
Yeah, you didn't save one person. You might have saved 100 people.
Yeah,
because most people will step over it and be pissed.
Yeah. So we talked about kind of the impact you're making on the community, the Detroit community. What, in your words, what role do you see the Arboretum playing in the community? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, hopefully it's a place to get people outside and connected with nature. Because like I said, some of these vacant lots I would never have gone in. Now we have parks 4 blocks north of us and 2 blocks south. So there's places that 20 years ago, I didn't go 2 blocks from my house. There was nothing to do. There's no parks over here. And you'd just be crossing like burnt out houses and who knows what's going on. And a lot of times you did know what's going on, and that's why you didn't go over there. You know what I'm saying? So like, now that those spaces are cleared and there's an inviting path and there's often people working, you know, either planting trees or doing maintenance. It looks nice. There's wildflowers. We have a lot of meadows in our spaces too. Right. It's just a place where my neighbors can leave their front door and basically be in a park. You know, you don't have to get in your car and go somewhere. So like we don't have the Arboretum that Ann Arbor has. And I do drive there to go to that Arboretum, but we have something different. Like we actually have a great walkable neighborhood, you know? So I think that one of the main things it's doing is getting people outside and loving their neighborhood instead of being, for many years, people in this neighborhood were super scared. There are still people in their 80s and 90s in this neighborhood who do not like to leave their house. And they're still like traumatized by living here through the 80s, basically. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So then realizing that all these landscapes are completely traumatized. So we're trying to like bring back the life, bring back the trees, bring back the natives, bring the plants and even the people. I mean, there's a whole nother aspect of where the Arboretum has taken us. But so if the neighborhood can heal from that trauma and the people can be a part of that, I think that's a really big gift, because most people, just like the garbage they don't pick up, nobody wants to clean up 60 yards worth of garbage. They didn't even know it was there until we discovered it in that lot, you know?
Right.
Most people aren't here for that. They're going to, you know, maybe walk their dog up and down the block, but not further, you know, and definitely not be a part of like, we're really cleaning this up and we're really turning it into something where there's a whole new life. You know?
Yeah. Are there restrictions since you're in like a residential area on what you can and can't do? I imagine there are some. but
I imagine there are too, but I don't know what they are.
okay, I like that.
No, I got to imagine that, and maybe I'm being a little bit too pessimistic or rude, even. I don't know, but I have to imagine in these places of Detroit, especially Hamtramck, where I was, there's not a lot of regulation. I would have to imagine.
Right. And if there is, there's not enforcement. I mean, Detroit has always been a pretty Wild West, like anything goes.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Did they just stop caring about it, like those areas?
It's impossible to take care of, to police, to steward all of this land, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, all those people left. The city was on the verge of bankruptcy. Like the city can't take care of the parks. I mean, I'm not shit talking Detroit, but this has been the MO for my whole lifetime.
Years.
Right. I think
There's kind of a lot of corruption and the politics, right? And
everyone in the U.S. kind of knows about Detroit.
So here's another aspect of that and why this neighborhood is so. This is why I don't really respond to anybody's regulations, and I don't really. I mean, because I'm a Detroiter, I'm used to that DIY aspect and everything. And there's a certain amount of privilege that comes with being a white male in this world too. So I do shit other people wouldn't do. I planted trees everywhere. I don't care. You know, people were like, well, do you own that land? I'm like, well, who owns the land? Like, you know, so that type of shit. But this neighborhood was particularly shit on
Modern
because
day Johnny Appleseed.
this guy, I was mentioning the Poletown plant, they eminent domained in 1982. Basically, you're talking about Hamtramck, which is a super dense, like very European, Polish, used to be Polish, Ukrainian. Now it's a lot of Yemeni and Bengali and really very diverse area, but it's dense. So was our neighborhood. And then between these two neighborhoods was another neighborhood. We're called Poletown East because the original Poletown was bulldozed for this GM assembly plant. 80 acres was bulldozed, 1,600 homes, 16 churches, hundreds of businesses, who knows how many trees, right? And that still sits there. It's between us and Hamtramck. And so that was built, and that really destroyed the fabric of the neighborhood because now we're completely disconnected from Hamtramck. Subsequent to that, they built a trash incinerator over here, just about a mile west of us. So for 30 years, when people threw things away, that away was our neighborhood, right? We burned and breathed everything that our suburban neighbors from Auburn Hills to Toronto were throwing away.
Wow.
And so that was another reason that people fled this neighborhood because it was toxic and it stunk, right? And so that's why it's so vacant. But that's also why I don't give a fuck because part of why we plant these trees is as a vegetative buffer. I mean, this is self-defense, right? We're calling on our tree kin to help us in the struggle against air pollution, which is still a problem. The incinerator shut down now. 6 years ago, they shut it down. It was an amazing, amazing day for the future of Detroit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But there's still a lot of very dirty industry over there, hazardous waste processing and other stuff that we're downwind from. So, when I'm confronted with regulations and laws and stuff, I'm kind of like, we're doing all the stuff that you couldn't do for us. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to wait for the city to protect me from what's over there, I'd be dead first. Yeah.
And that's probably why they can't really enforce. Cause what are they going to do? Bring charges against a guy planting trees, making the neighborhoods more beautiful. Like, that's not going to be good.
I don't think they got time for that. Yeah. I mean, I got a friend who's doing a sculpture project for us, and he lives in a little 10 by 10 hut that he built in Corktown. And he got no permits, it's so cool. And then he got a girl, he got a girlfriend afterwards. After a few years, he had built her one too. So they have two little straw bale huts just nestled into this neighborhood. Nobody knows they're there. Yeah, it's cool. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff like that, right? There's especially in this neighborhood. There's a tradition of just doing it, like asking for forgiveness, not permission, basically, as my friend Paul likes to say. You want to bale hay over there? Bale hay over there. What the hell, That's how it kind of started over here. The whole agricultural component of this neighborhood. My crazy friend Paul was he got a tractor and a hay baler, and he's like, "Oh, it's vacant land. Let's bale hay."
Yes,
Bale 1,000 bales a summer, right in the neighborhood.
That's really what I love about Detroit. It's just this mentality of that Detroit versus everybody. It's just this mentality that we're all going through something. Been going through it for years. Our sports teams, our people, our industry, our nature, everything is just going through something. And the only people that are going to fix it throughout all the corruption and political strife that you guys have had, it's you guys. You guys are going to be the ones that are going to fix it and set your future straight. Yeah. And it's just so cool. The city is just so cool to me because of that mentality. And I've had the privilege over the 40 years to really see it start bouncing back. In that, not even at the beginning of the year, I had my 10-year-old and we went to the American Coney and Lafayette Coney, and we were out till 11:30 at night, and there was just nothing, no worries, no anything. And it was just so cool, man. It's just so cool. I do just one more question, and Birch, I kind of pop these questions off. I get excited and I write these questions down for you, so it's just fun to me.
Great.
But since we are talking about some of the frustrations and some of the things that you've had to deal with, because I imagine that, as a lifelong Detroiter, being able to follow your passions and follow your dreams in the city that you're from, especially a city that needs this kind of stuff so much, has been extremely joyous to you. But I also imagine that it has not been all rainbows and butterflies. So have there been any major hurdles that you've had to cross to be able to accomplish your goals? Or are there any current hurdles that you're having to cross?
Well, that's an interesting question, right? Because that's not what everybody likes to focus on, but it is real, right? So I would say, number one, like we already alluded to, not everybody is a tree hugger. Not everybody loves trees. Through no fault of the trees, people have trauma around trees that is not allowing them to feel the way we do about them, right? So there are people who are like, why are you planting all these trees? Like, we've had that a lot of times. Like, why do you keep planting trees? Aren't there enough trees? And we got to have a conversation about climate change and about the heat, But I understand that if a tree fell on your house or your car, you're going to be salty, right? And there are other people who just don't want to get off their ass and rake the leaves. I'm like, leave the leaves. Don't worry about it. You're so worried about the leaves. So those people don't like trees because they don't distinguish the leaves from the fast food litter that they see on the street. To them, it's all just shit, it's really weird. So there's that. I've even had somebody say, I don't like looking at trees. They remind me of lynching. That was the saddest thing I ever heard. That this person is never going to be able to love a tree because of the trauma of generations of people that came before her, So I didn't see that coming. Because I've always loved trees and it's just my way to connect with trees. So it's been something to try and empathize with these people and think like, okay, how can we help even those people? How can we help them? And so there's that. That's a current to swim against in the city. Yeah, and
I wouldn't have guessed that though. I got it. Maybe I was just my rose-colored glasses, but that wasn't what I was expecting you to say. I guess I would have thought it would have been more
like there's a septic tank. There's
political or something along those lines. But the idea that people are like lifelong trauma of trees is your hurdle. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, urbanized.
Not crazy, but
No, it's not. It's just urbanized Black folks in particular who didn't have the same things that we had. Like, we had exposure to those forests and to those trails. Somehow we got out there. And if you live in a city and the trees are just a burden to you, and particularly in Detroit, the city did not care for the trees. So the trees were falling. They were dropping limbs on cars. And so it's not the fault of the trees and it's not the fault of these people. It's really the fault of the city in those cases. There are people who believe that when Dutch elm disease hit Detroit, it decimated our elm population. And many people believed, and it was subsequent to the rebellions of the late 60s and the white flight. And so there are people in the community who believe that those trees were all cut down to surveil the Black community. So you think about like, wow, that's a deep entrenched belief.
Yeah.
Right. So there's all kinds of aspects of trees that we haven't even thought about. And well, that of course is misinformation, but it impacts the way people view trees. So then to speak of something more concrete and probably what you were thinking, I might answer the fact that all these houses were bulldozed, and in many cases pre-1990, they would just backfill the whole house into the basement and then cap it with fill dirt. So you can imagine that when we're digging, we're finding all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't know which of these lots has a house still under it and which was properly, backfilled with actual fill dirt, like all the way. So that's an interesting thing. So that becomes like whatever was in that house when it was demolished is also there. So toxicity, like what is all that stuff? And often the houses were sided with asbestos. We find asbestos shingles, tiles and stuff when we dig. So there's all that, right? That's a huge obstacle. But it's something worth talking about. You might have seen the stupas when you were out here, these like cylinders of concrete and rubble and bricks and stuff.
Yes.
So we have those in all our parks. Those are like a truth window to what's underground.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're sculptural, and they're a chance for people who are confronting those obstacles to be able to do something constructive with it, right? I get to go take it and add it to the sculpture, but it's also a conversation piece. Like, really, Detroit is half landfill. Yeah.
It's part of its history now.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. That is what I was looking for.
Yeah. So that's it. The garbage, that just goes under garbage, right? So all the garbage was like, we didn't realize that every time we get a new couple of lots, it's like, well, let's see what's under there. We're like rolling back carpeting that was hiding under the grass. Like, it's like, how deep does it go,
Wow.
And that is like such an impressive thing to take on, just the cleanup of those sites and then the labor it takes to, pushing all that dirt. I'm a fellow dirt digger. I like doing it. I don't know why. It's just in my blood.
It is pretty. It is
you
pretty.
Do that and you finish up and you make something beautiful out of what wasn't like it.
Right.
There's a great sense of satisfaction in that. And then you want to keep going and doing more.
And you do with other people. And you're like, I had no idea that was like a 20 by 20 piece of carpeting right there, but I never knew it was there, but now I know it's not there, so there's that satisfaction of like, I actually have a sense of cleaning up.
That it's so awesome and also so sad. It's sad that you have a city, and I know that Detroit's not the only city that's doing this sort of thing, but it's so, I oftentimes wonder when I'm reading into not-for-profits or when I'm reading into grassroots organizations that are doing all of these wonderful, wonderful things, it excites me greatly, but also really concerns me for the reason why you need so many not-for-profits or grassroots organizations when we have such a huge political forum and spectrum. It just seems like it's just this circle of existence where we have a number of people that fuck everything up, and then we have this other number of people that do wonderful things, and it's just repetitive, it's redundant.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful when we talk with people like you that are, that's an undertaking that is quite remarkable. That because it's not just planting trees, it's cleaning up an entire city, one lot by one lot by one lot.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what I admire. Is you're a small organization. You're kind of punk rock conservationists just going out there just here's a lot. We buy it. We do whatever the hell we want, like in terms of planting trees and making it a beautiful space.
Well, thank you for saying that. I take punk rock as an extreme high compliment.
Damn right.
Yeah, for sure. I know what team I'm on, in that circle you're talking about, Patrick. It's at least I know that, like, I'm here for the cleanup, I'm not here to fuck things up. I'm here to make it better. And if we don't get all the way there, at least I know how I live my life, And
at the end of the day, I think that's all that really matters in the soul. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I can't think of a better way to use those plots. Like, there's nothing better than planting.
I can't either, right? Yeah, it's obvious. And
it's amazing that you're doing it. And I appreciate that you're doing that.
And 40 square miles here where other people can be doing it in their neighborhoods. That's the thing that's really exciting, is that Detroit will be the greenest city in the world, because like we've lost half our infrastructure. Like, we can now go back and retrofit that with nature.
It's damn, that's awesome.
Like, I have this sci-fi picture in my head of this city just with a huge forest growing over top of it.
Right. And sequoias included, right? I mean, that's part of it. They're going to be here. They're going to be here a long time.
Yeah, that's what, like, imagine 6 or 7 houses on a block, and then it's all just forest in between every house. That would be so awesome.
I mean, wouldn't that be the ideal neighborhood?
Yeah.
Like, right? So, I mean, this is a template for...
It's a dream.
Yeah, it really is.
I want to move out to the country for that reason. But if I could live in a city and be surrounded by woods, still have birds to
sign Brad up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the point. I mean, like, I wanted to live out in the country. I wanted to live in the forest too. And I'm like, what can I really do out there? Like that. I mean, in terms of like making an impact, like,
right.
I feel like staying here and making sure that there's forests here is just the thing I want to do.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Very awesome. Another kind of thing we consistently get into is accessibility. It's been a common kind of comment that we make throughout our episodes, and the guests we talk to is the more accessibility that these places have, the more accessibility that people have to get out to nature, to hug a tree, to touch a tree, to see a tree, to just touch the grass, take a hike down a dirt trail.
Keep on sauntering.
Yep, saunter.
Yeah.
Just saunter.
It seems to be just gaining that helps out the cause, because I think especially when you're from a city, you don't necessarily have identification. You don't really understand where you fit in. You don't really understand the beauty of what's going on. So in terms of that, what are you doing? You mentioned the benches earlier and building these green spaces in these neighborhoods, but are you guys going in the direction of trying to get more accessibility to these people? And then if you are, this follow-up question would be, have you seen an uptick in volunteerism or other communities that are engaging in building these green spaces because of the accessibility that you've given them? That was kind of a lot.
Yeah. Well, when you say accessibility, you mean like universal accessibility, like people can get into the spaces like in a wheelchair?
Yeah, I think yes, that for sure.
Like if you want to volunteer, or
well, I mean, like more specifically to you guys, and I'm still just enamored by the idea of doing this in Detroit, and I imagine that a huge portion of the population doesn't. So if I could speak personally, for me, when I was first getting into backpacking and going out to nature and experiencing nature for what it was, growing up in Indiana, I didn't understand that what they meant wasn't the little square between two cornfields. Like, I thought that when people went hiking, that's where you went. Pretty much where I was getting fucked up drunk with my farming buddies. That's what I thought nature was, And then I had an experience where I got a chance to go out to something that was in fact a forest. We were in Mount Rainier National Park is where my wife and I went. And that it just expand. I mean, now I'm doing a podcast and I'm promoting conservation and Detroit Arboretum. So, I mean, in terms of that, not necessarily which is wonderful, wheelchair accessibility and accessibility to older people and younger people, but more just bringing that accessibility to inner city youth, inner city people that might not have experienced this without your greening of spaces. Mm-hmm. And then how is that kind of helping you in your cause by branching out to other neighborhoods and other areas of Detroit?
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, because the parks are marked, they all have like a post that says the name of the park and it says welcome. There's sometimes a gravel pathway, sometimes it's a wood chip pathway, sometimes it's a mowed pathway, but something that is hopefully enough of an invitation to get somebody to walk off the street and come through there. And like you said, the benches, the fact that you can sit on a bench that's now facing a bunch of beautiful trees instead of facing the street, you know, like a bus stop or something. It's kind of the antithesis of that, actually, right? So people do want to sit down. People are walking, and so I'll see people who didn't like deliberately come to the park, but they found the bench and they sat down. So now they're already communing with the trees. You know, that's a sort of a gateway. And now you're like, you can look at these trees and not have to worry about raking the leaves. You're suddenly now can see the beauty of those leaves because it's not your problem. We'll take care of all that, you know? So I think that allows people to come into the space in a way that's not threatening or doesn't feel like it's going to, you know, demand anything of them. And like you said, there aren't a lot of forests in Detroit, right? We're lucky to have a little pocket forest here or there. And I think a lot of urban kids, because of that, they've never been to a forest. So it's also a gateway into the forest. Like, you don't have to be afraid of these spaces. Like a lot of times they would be when they're dumped on, and there's an irony of a lot of the forests have started because of the illegal dumping, because once there's a huge pile, the mowers can't get in there. So the trees start to grow up through the garbage. And now these trees are 20, 30 years old. The garbage is still there, but now the forest is expanded, right? So there are these like pocket forests that's the association kids have around here is like, I'm not going in there, right? It's dirty, it's dark, it's scary, and I don't really know what's going on in there.
It's not really natural in a way.
Yeah. So, we'll go in and we'll take out as much the garbage, you know, like basically sometimes we have to remove trees too, because the trees are actually grown through the garbage, but we'll clean it up and create a path, make some benches. It's clean and inviting. Like we've had a lot of people who have come into those spaces and said, wow, I've never been in a forest and I never knew that it was a beautiful shady place to sit. Yeah. Like it's a wonderful thing, you know, like even there's a woman, Katrina Watkins, who runs a nonprofit near here. She's in another neighborhood, and she's not somebody who's a tree lover, but she's somebody who's stewarding vacant spaces like we are, right? She's done about as much work as we have in terms of numbers and scale. She came into one of our parks, Circle Forest, and she went into the forest thinking it was going to be scary and came out thinking, how can I do this in my neighborhood?
Oh, like awesome.
It was a really big win. Yeah. So I think having clean forests that are welcoming and unthreatening is a gateway to people. Like we hear about deforestation, we hear about forest fires, but in Detroit, we don't know what that means. That's the other side of the world, you know. Yeah. We don't. When you say forest, if I don't know what that means, I don't give a shit about it, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can convince anybody in the world if the temperature is high enough out there in the baking sun, and you just take them under a 20-degree drop under a shady tree. Where can I get one of these?
Yeah, that's true. I've done that, and we do that repeatedly with Circle Forest. We'll take like the school groups through there, and we'll do the same thing. Like feel it out here, now feel it under here. I do the same thing with fall color when I have neighbors who I ask them if they want a tree in their yard, because I'm also pushing trees on people. We have this tree nursery. I want to give trees away. But I've done it a few times where I said, come to my yard in the fall. And they come into my yard and they get it instantly. They're like, oh my God, you know, like, cause I got so many trees of so many colors, and it's like all the parks are planted to be like, you know, fireworks in the fall.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a gateway too.
Cool breeze blowing through there.
Ooh,
get out of here.
Man, you're painting a picture,
Get
Travis.
Out. Right. Damn. So yeah, people need that, right? And it wasn't here before. We barely had a park over here. Yeah.
It's awesome. You brought up how you're bringing kids into your area, the Circle Forest. how do you balance being not just a place of beauty and color and trees, but also an ecological education kind of thing?
Yeah, it just makes sense. I mean, once the spaces are built, it's like, all right, let's do some bird walks, let's do some plant walks, and do a medicine walk. It seems like like I said in the beginning, I didn't see it in the beginning, but it was really obvious after the space is there. What are we going to do with it? Now we have Tai Chi and yoga classes and other ways to invite people in,
Yeah.
So, and then signage, that was another thing. It was like, oh man, we could make signs about climate change, and we could make signs about mycorrhiza and medicinal plants. And so now we have signs in the parks, and it's like there's this next level where just education seems obvious, right? It's all here. Why would we not do that?
It's just so damn cool. Just learning your evolution from being this English teacher that was planting trees and taking kids out in your classes to plant trees, to following your passion, following your dream to this arboretum. And then even since doing that, you're still learning different ways to educate, different ways to make it more popular, gain people's trust and knowledge. It's cool to see the evolution of Birch,
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm digging it too.
Yeah, I bet, man. At 50, you're Birch. This is fucking sweet, man.
The next level is bringing people into the trees, into like deep connection. Like so far, lots of tree walks, and isn't that beautiful? But there's a whole nother level of like, well, I talked about Tai Chi in the park, right? So like you can do Tai Chi and you can do yoga on a mat in a room, or you can do it with a tree. Like you can actually do a whole bunch of stretching with a tree where you're actually touching the tree, and you can do a whole bunch of like Tai Chi and Qigong where you're facing a tree and tapping into that Qi. And I mean, just climbing trees, right? So when I'm pruning these trees, we let them branch really low instead of like in the city, they like to prune them up so there's visibility. Well, I like to prune them low so a 4-year-old can start climbing, So all the different ways that you can bring people in to be in contact with the trees is really what the Arboretum is going to be about. I mean, there's this whole next level in terms of like that evolution that I'm seeing.
Well, I for one cannot wait for just keep experiencing what you've built. Cause as I've stated, I go up there quite often, and I plan on visiting quite often. I know the other two guys want to get up there as well to see some of what you have. Yes. And the evolution, we will be paying attention to the evolution of what you got going on, Birch. That's for sure.
Yeah. I can't wait to show you around. Yeah.
I want to touch some of those trees, Patrick.
See, now we know we can, dude. And, right. And since we're talking about the tree I touched I on air, I do just want to reference, you have sequoias in Detroit. And as Travis alluded to in the beginning in his intro, that really kind of drew us in immediately as to what you were doing. I imagine that's pretty much a common consensus, like, oh shit, there's sequoias in Detroit. That's crazy. And then I went to one of your spaces and took my mom, my wife, and my little boy. And these trees were about 2-3 feet tall. But what you told us earlier was even more amazing, in that these 2 or 3 feet tall trees were, how old did you say?
3,000 years.
Jesus Christ, because I would have guessed a year.
Well, they've been in that spot for a year, but somebody went and climbed that tree, the stag or the waterfall. These are very prominent trees. One of them is no longer living. The waterfall perished in the Paradise Fire. Whole nother story about why sequoias are dying in forest fires. That should not be happening. But so somebody climbed that tree and took a little snip off the end of one of those branches and put that in some root hormone and grew that in a lab.
Okay.
And then put it in our nursery, and then we put it into the park. So that is a clone. So that means that tree is already 3,000 years old and should live another 3,000 years here. Yeah. So the idea behind that is just getting those genetics of the ancient trees, right? So they've survived everything, right? They've seen a lot of drought. They've seen a lot of climate change.
Hell yeah, they
So
have.
that's in their DNA. So that's the idea behind planting them here is like, let's get ready for the future, you know?
Yeah. And I've done my fair share of looking around at, at sequoias being in, because you think sequoias, you think West Coast. So I've done a bit of looking around, and sequoias are native to this region, that they millions of years ago or thousands of years ago, sequoias were here by the plenty.
Right.
So I
that's
found that
another
to
thing,
be
right?
exceptionally
What is
fascinating.
native? Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Start
exactly.
arguing about that. Those trees were everywhere across the globe. Giant
Yeah.
sequoias. Yeah.
How far do you want to go back? You know,
I mean,
used to
that
be coral
seems
reef here. We can plant some of that.
Yeah.
a rock hound, dude.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I wanted to say one thing about you touching that tree when we planted those.
Brad, you listening?
Yep.
we had a guy who came for the day, and he has a machine that he hooks up. It's a sensor that he hooks up to the trees. It's like measures electromagnetic frequencies and turns it into sound. And when you touch the tree, it changes that electromagnetic frequency. So, when I'm saying that tree feels you, it's true. I mean, so this is fun to have the kids come up and touch the tree and hear the music change as each kid touches the tree. What are they bringing?
Shit, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So you were touching the
that's
tree,
real
but it
cool.
wasn't hooked up to the speaker. Yeah.
That's a
pretty cool thing.
That tree wasn't get the hell off me. It was like, that feels good.
Yeah,
Keep
scratch
that
my
up,
back.
man.
Give me some
Yeah.
That is
I feel
cool.
like that. I feel like sometimes the trees are like, we walk down the street and I might be the first person who said hi to that tree this century,
Yeah.
I mean, at least this decade, but like, I want to change that, right? Change the culture. Like, why don't we just see trees as decorations? Come on. There's so much there.
When I see a gigantic oak out there that's, has been there just way before you were born, like I feel like I have a little bit of respect for it, as an elder. Like, wow, that's a gigantic, beautiful tree.
Right.
Absolutely.
We don't have enough stuff that's even old in our world, right? The trees are here. They've been here a long time. Everything is so young, brand new in this country. So that's like really the only place that we can go, except for the rocks, the mountains, to see something that's to give us a different sense of time.
Absolutely.
In that respect you're talking about.
Man, that's cool.
It is interesting because when I'm hiking or backpacking, there is always like an urge pulling me to like touching the bark on the tree. Like I feel like I don't get a sense of the tree until I like feel the bark and how sturdy it is and touch the leaves. How waxy are they?
Right. And then rub and smell right. I mean, you're actually taking in the aerosols of that tree. That tree is giving you, especially evergreens, right? They're giving you not only oxygen, but aerosols and then the fragrance. And you can take a little piece of that sap and you can chew on it. And then you're like, that tree is inside me now, I mean, the way that we can relate just gets deeper and deeper. So you talk about just touching the tree, but put your hands on the tree for 10 minutes and see what she tells you. I promise that you'll get a message.
I'm going outside. See you later, fuckers.
Yeah, what are we doing in here?
Dude, we needed to be doing this interview from the Arboretum. That's for sure. That oh god damn, dude. I'm ready to go take a walk.
I mean, you already know. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
so,
we do.
And you're my age, and you guys, we can still learn so much more. My relationship to the trees has evolved so much doing this work. And I was already a tree hugger, tree lover, tree kisser. And now I'm like opening up in new ways to the trees and hopefully can help other people do that too and normalize that sort of behavior.
Well, if I'm psyched about what you have to say, I can imagine all of our listeners are also psyched. So you're certainly helping out right now. That's for sure. I can tell you that.
That's cool. I forgot about the listeners. We're just here kicking it out. I totally forgot. Hey, guys.
Hey, this is just there. We're just chilling. There's no listeners. I'm just chilling. We don't have any.
Like 6.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's just one matters, man. If one person gets out there.
I do have one random question I was curious about. Do you ever acquire or search out lots that are like touching each other, like where you can keep growing a spot bigger and bigger?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Our biggest spot is 12 parcels big.
Oh, wow.
And then we just connected another one to it. There's, we keep doing that where we can,
Yeah.
it's not available everywhere. So it's not one lot here, one lot there. It's like the parks are generally like 4, 5, 7, 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
Nice.
stoked are you when you get one that's, adjacent to what you have?
That's pretty nice. It's to feel like, oh, we got another entrance now. What do we want to do with this? What I'm really stoked is when we find a lot that has a tree on it, that has actually a mature tree. That's the bomb. Then I'm like, oh, I just saved 50 years.
Yeah.
I can enjoy the shade.
Yeah. And there are a few. Circle Forest has a whole grove of elms and who else is in there? Elms, yew, mulberry, box elder, and they're all like 40, 50 years old. So that's why we kept that forest and really wanted to get those lots, because we saw that potential. Because everything we're planting, we're waiting 20, 30 years. I mean, before it's like a forest. But yeah, that's awesome.
Do you get a
That's
lot of
awesome.
Orioles in that mulberry tree?
No, there's a lot of mulberries here. Not a lot of Orioles. The Orioles that I see are up in the high up in the cottonwoods,
Oh,
the
okay.
poplars. That's where they like to nest. But do they like mulberries?
Yeah, I think they do.
Oh,
That was a
okay.
question I had, is as you develop these plots, and do you find, nature returning like more and more? Is there a bigger abundance of birds and
Yeah, it's a great question.
bugs
It's
and stuff?
awesome to see. Awesome to see. We got a guy on our board who's a very avid birder. He's observed 119 different species in Circle Forest.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty cool,
Man, I already
right?
about to take it.
That's
Brad,
pretty
I'll take you up to Detroit, bud.
And that's because, that's not just a forest, but there's a meadow too. There's an acre of meadow up there of wildflowers. So we got the pollinators and they feed off of all those little critters in there. In our yard in particular, when we moved here 25 years ago, we have 7 lots. That's our yard. It was nothing. It was completely baked earth. And I've got over 100 trees in the yard, but birds galore. Like, it's amazing how fast they find the spot. Right now, I got all these cedars that are producing seeds, and all these trees that are now 20 years old producing seeds. It's there's a ton of birds over here. It's been awesome to see that. And I tell people when they plant a tree, I'm like, stand there after you plant that tree, go sit down and see how long it takes for a bird to land in that tree.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. They will land in a newly planted tree and they're like, oh, cool. They're like so psyched. It's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. And then you think about it, like, if I didn't plant that tree, that bird could not have landed there because that was airspace,
Yeah.
So that's pretty satisfying.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
cool.
satisfying.
Yeah, we spoke to Whitney Yorger and the Indiana Audubon Society, and they have programs. One of them's called Adopt a Loggerhead Shrike. And when you pay the money to adopt, like, quote unquote, adopt a shrike, that money actually goes to, I think it was buying like red cedars, planting red cedars, because that's
cool.
the trees that loggerhead shrikes like nest in and like to be in.
That's cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
It's been fun to plant groves of certain trees for certain birds, you know? Yeah, it's fun.
And then actually get to see them come. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
119 bird species is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah,
There is
wow.
some really rare ones in there too. He had people coming from like East Lansing, like he's on the bird apps, and
Oh, yeah.
he's like, hey, I saw I don't know if it was a pine siskin or there's some bird that typically
is a
isn't
bird.
here.
And that is
People
a
were
rare.
very stoked, and there's all these people like flocking to see the bird.
Yeah, that's like a running joke in the birding world. It's like a mad dash to a rare sighting.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Why not?
Yeah.
It's fun.
I like coming across them randomly.
So I
Yeah,
imagine,
but it's still fun.
It's a little more
imagine-
chill, right?
I imagine there's you see so many different things when you're out there developing these little plots, and like, what is one thing that kind of sticks out in your mind that's either the wildest or maybe your favorite moment or something while you've been building this?
There was a moment that I really, really cherish because, I mean, it was some perfect timing, but it was also just such a good feeling. I was given a tour to these high school kids, and we were in Detroit too, which is a little park that was designed around one white pine. It's 5 lots, and there was nothing there but this one white pine that was obviously in the backyard of one of the demolished houses. So that was the only tree there, and we said, let's give her a family, right? So we're going to plant a bunch of white pines and paper birch and all this stuff to make her happy and develop mycorrhizal connection and everything. So I'm telling that story. We get to that park, and I say, we planted this, we designed this park for this mother tree right here, and I point up to the top of this white pine, and this big hawk swoops in and lands right on the branch that I'm pointing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the kids were all like looking at each other, and they were like, that was some kind of wizard or something.
Got some disciples.
Yeah, no kidding. It felt really good. I was like, yeah, I just did that. Like, I was so grateful to that bird. It was so cool.
You're like, yeah, I do that all the time. That's my
But there
thing.
was another moment at Circle Forest with a bird. We were debating about what trees to cut because it's a native restoration project. So we're supposed to cut out all the invasive species. Well, I'm not, I have a whole bunch to say about the trees that have been here and have volunteered all these years. I'm not cutting them down, but there was this ailanthus tree, which is like a really reviled urban invasive tree. And we're like deciding who we cut down and who we don't cut down. And an eagle landed on the top of that ailanthus tree. I was like, I am not cutting that tree down. Nope, that's crazy. I mean, it was just the highest place for a bird to land, right? And so it happened to be an eagle. Yeah, so those moments are really fun.
That's amazing.
But there's tons of moments, yeah.
I bet.
Want to write a book or something, and before I forget it all.
Hey, I'll come to your books. Your what do they call it when you write a book? I don't know.
Reading, book signing. I don't know.
I was going to say book signing, but then I thought that might be a little bit like, well, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
I don't know. I'm not there yet. I've never written a book, but it would sure be fun. I'm thinking about it, though. I mean, this year I had this practice of every day visiting a different tree for whatever, minimum 10 minutes, maybe more, and just vibing with the tree, put my hands on the tree, put my forehead on the tree, hang out with the tree, whatever that means. Maybe it's climbing a tree and sitting in the tree. And sometimes it can be for hours, but then, kind of decompress and debrief the experience and write a little bit about it. So that's my idea. It might take me a couple of years to get enough really good experiences. Sometimes nothing happens and it's pretty uneventful, or sometimes I'm just feeling so shitty. Like the past few days, I was like, I haven't even felt like writing,
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, if I write a book, it might just be like a 365 days of like, this is the experience of that tree, that tree, that tree. This is the joke that tree told me. This is the history of that tree. It's really been fun to challenge myself. And sometimes I'll spend 4 hours, honestly. Like, I went to go on a walk the other day. You've probably never been to Cranbrook, have you, Patrick?
No. Well,
it's an
maybe.
educational community. It's a very beautiful, grounds. It's basically an arboretum. I went there thinking I was going to go for a walk, and I was like, I got a couple hours. I'll go for a walk. The first tree that I visited was this mature beech tree, probably a 200-year-old beech. And I just didn't have any reason to go anywhere else. I stayed there and did my little tree gong and my meditation. And I was making art out of pine cones, and I was climbing and writing. And 4 hours later, I was like, oh, that was my tree. It's so funny. Like, how a tree can just, if you're in the right frame of mind and you're ready to slow down, you can just be there, and there's nowhere else to go. That's it. You're like, I'm here. Yeah,
absolutely.
Please put that in a format that we can access it.
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Your mindset on all of it is just like, it's inspiring.
We're all there. You just got to be open to it. Just slow down, slow down and open up to it. Like, you already know that trees have so much to give you, and just be like, wait, there's so much more. I mean, think about the science of trees. We know so little, We're so baby. We just came here and started cutting them down before we even figured out mycorrhiza. That's 20 years old. That science is brand new.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Like, we used to know, in the indigenous ways they knew, the Celts knew. We're just brainwashed, we're cut off from it. But now it's time to relearn that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there's people like you out there reteaching us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just a student, man. I'll tell you what I learned.
Yeah, well, that's what it takes, I think,
Nailed it on this podcast.
You learn it, don't keep it a secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hope.
We're reaching time, and it's a goddamn bummer, to be honest with you.
But I do on for hours.
Yeah, for sure. One of the way we kind of like to end our guest episodes, that's for sure, is just allowing you, our guest, a moment of time just to kind of speak on what you feel is important. Not so much us asking questions, but if there's anything you want to promote, anything that you're doing, anything you're excited about, any call to action that you might have, or just kind of speaking on your experience, the floor is yours, and that's the way we're going to end it.
Cool. I hope I'm not too far from the router because am I breaking up? Is everything cool?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay, because I got a little glitchy from you. Okay, good. Yeah, that question is cool, and it's a nice lead-in, and I didn't have an answer. I was sitting downstairs getting ready for the interview, and I was going over the questions, and our housemate came in, and we were talking, and the dog was barking and whatever, and then I was like, hey, I'm trying to get ready for this interview. I got to get back to this or whatever. And so I read that question. I'm like, are there other... And she instantly said, know whose land you're on. She's Anishinaabe, which is indigenous to this region, right? And maybe even into Indiana, Great Lakes region. So I was like, okay, know whose land you're on. Okay, that's a great start. And I thought, let's talk about that for a minute, because we're so privileged to be in these amazing, beautiful naturescapes, right? We all hike and go to these places. And that's a wonderful thing. And maybe the next step is to learn more about whose land this is, right? We're definitely visitors here. And there's been way too much history and trauma to talk about, what has gone into the displacement of indigenous people. But if you can use that experience of being in nature and your love for the land to try and generate some empathy or even just motivation to learn about the Anishinaabe here or wherever it is that you are, maybe you're hiking out in, Mount Rainier, to learn about those folks and to learn about their ways. And then maybe there's, a next step, well, is there anything I could possibly do to help these people? Is there anything that I could possibly do to connect these people to the land too? And there might not be a ready answer, but it might be something that marinates once you do recognize whose land it is and then learn a little bit about those folks. So the short version of this story is that through this work, feeling so, like I said, this is a dream job, right? To be able to steward this land and repurpose vacant land and pick the trees and all this stuff. And I'm very, very aware of that, and I'm very grateful for that. But it also makes me think about whose land is this? This is a big question about land ownership, right? And I think that the Arboretum is preventing land hoarders and development and a bunch of good things. We're doing, like you said, Travis, the best possible thing we can do with this land, and I think it is. And it made me think, do I know people who are not connected to the land in the way that I am? I have such a privilege to be able to do this. Is there a way that we can maybe help indigenous folks get connected to the land? So our most recent project is a land back project where we purchased 4 lots from the land bank, and we're turning those over to indigenous stewardship. So that's why Hadassah is living in our house, the woman who said, tell them, know whose land you're on.
Yep.
So I've felt this way for a long time, what does land back look like and what could I possibly do? And then here I am running this nonprofit where we actually can do something about it, so it's worked itself out, and it's been such a beautiful thing that we've actually given this woman a place to live, and she's the one who's stewarding the project. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful learning experience. So I guess that's my final words are just to explore that a little bit, because we are so connected to the land, and let's recognize what that means, and let's recognize that almost 100% of these landscapes that we interact with are traumatized, and that's why it feels so good to be in a national park or to be in a old growth forest, because it's not traumatized. And we know that's only 5%. You know, old growth forest is like nothing. It's like the world as it should be, and it's not here, you know, but you and I have access to that. Is there a way that we can help somebody else access that? I don't know, you know, maybe. I got to make a reservation for an Indigenous woman to my favorite spot. This was a few years ago. I was up in the Porcupine Mountains, and I wished, how am I so lucky to be here on Lake Superior in this old growth forest? Like, what did I do to get to be here, to learn that this was here, and to be able to have a car to get here and all this stuff? I was like, I hope I can make this available to somebody else one day. And a few years later, I met somebody who I was able to, it was her birthday. She told me her birthday was in May or whatever. I was like, I'm making you a reservation for a week at my favorite spot. Would you accept that? So I said, just for me, I'm just being selfish, because this is a dream of mine to be able to bring an Anishinaabe woman to this spot. Anyway, so you don't know what it means, you know, but when you just start thinking about it, something will develop. So yeah, it's very good advice from her.
You know, Birch, you just said that you did something selfish, but you're very wrong. And I think the big thing I like about you is that none of this is about you at all.
Yeah.
It's all about, you know, creating a better environment for others. And that's pretty cool for somebody to just say, that's what I'm doing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Yeah.
Damn right, Birch. You are one incredible human being. It has been an absolute pleasure to be able to sit down with you and have a conversation with you and learn, you know, the evolution of who you are and what the Detroit Arboretum has become. It's just been a magical evening hanging out with you, man.
Thanks for the invitation, you guys. It's been beautiful to talk about it, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it's Arboretum Detroit.
Arboretum Detroit. Okay.
It's all things, man.
It's whatever the hell we want to call it.
It's
Brad.
Tree-Troit.
Whatever the hell we want to call it. Yeah, Tree-Troit.
Tree-Troit, the Arb, you know.
Well, thank you very much, Birch, for joining us this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of the podcast and going through the process. We appreciate it very, very, very much.
Absolutely.
Okay,
for all
thanks,
you listeners out there, if you want to check us out, follow us on Busted Pretty at bluesky.com or Busted Pretty, sorry, Travis, you go ahead and say it.
BustedPretty.com at Busted Pretty on Blue Sky. Thanks for listening. Keep on sauntering, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.